Imagine it's 2 a.m., you're staring at the ceiling, your mind racing with 1,000 thoughts. Sound familiar? We've all been there, caught in the relentless cycle of overthinking. As the world sleeps, our minds awaken, embarking on a journey that leads us through a maze of thoughts and worries. It's a silent battle, one that many of us fight, day in and day out. This battle, my friends, is not fought on the fields, but within the confines of our own minds. Overthinking, a term we've all heard and a habit we're all too familiar with, it's like a whirlpool sucking us in, spinning us around in circles, leaving us dizzy and disoriented. It's an unwelcome guest that overstays its welcome, affecting our sleep, productivity, and overall well-being. It's like an anchor, weighing us down, holding us back from reaching our true potential. But overthinking is not just a problem, it's a symptom. It's a symptom of a mind that is untrained, a mind that has not yet learned to harness its own power. It's a symptom of a mind that has become a slave to its own thoughts, rather than its master. So, let's delve deeper. Let's explore this phenomenon that keeps us up at night, that robs us of our peace, that turns our strengths into weaknesses. Let's understand why we overthink, what triggers it, and how it impacts our lives. We all have this silent battle within us, a battle with our own thoughts. But what if we could turn this battle around? What if instead of being a victim of our own thoughts, we could become their master? What if we could harness the power of overthinking and use it to our advantage? What if we could transform this anchor that weighs us down into a sail that propels us forward? But what if there was a way to master this overthinking and use it to our advantage? Let's embark on this journey together, a journey to understand, to explore, and to conquer the battle within. Let's master the art of thinking. First, we need to understand what overthinking is. At its core, overthinking can be defined as the act of dwelling excessively on situations, conversations, or choices, both past and future. It's like your mind is on a hamster wheel, running in circles but not getting anywhere. Overthinking can stem from various sources. It could be worry, the nagging feeling that something isn't right or that there's a problem you can't solve. It could be anxiety, a sense of unease or nervousness that's hard to shake off. It could even be a desire for perfection, the relentless pursuit of getting everything just right, which often leads to paralysis by analysis. So, how does overthinking create a vicious cycle? Well, imagine your thoughts as a river. The more you overthink, the faster the current becomes, sweeping you away in its turbulent flow. You become stuck in your thoughts, unable to break free. These patterns of negative thinking can then spiral, leading to more overthinking, more worry, more anxiety, and in some cases, even depression. It's like a domino effect. One negative thought can trigger a cascade of other negative thoughts, and before you know it, you're trapped in a whirlwind of negativity. This cycle can be incredibly draining. It can leave you feeling mentally exhausted, and it can also affect your physical health, leading to problems like insomnia, headaches, and even heart disease. But the good news is, once you're aware of this cycle, you can take steps to break it. You can start to challenge these negative thought patterns, replace them with positive ones, and gradually train your mind to think differently. It's not always easy, but with practice, you can learn to master your thoughts rather than letting them master you. But remember, understanding is the first step towards overcoming. By understanding what overthinking is, why it happens, and how it affects us, we can start to gain control over it. We can begin to steer the course of our thoughts, rather than being swept along by them. And that is a powerful first step towards breaking the cycle of overthinking and reclaiming the power of our minds. Now comes the question, how do we break this cycle of overthinking? It's a hefty question, indeed. But the answer might be simpler than you think. It's about mindfulness. Yes, the term often thrown around in self-help books and motivational speeches. But what does it truly mean? Mindfulness is about being fully present in the moment. It's about experiencing the world around us, without judgment, without the clutter of thoughts about the past or the future. It's about immersing yourself in the now, the present moment, because that's all there truly is. When we overthink, we're often stuck in the past, replaying old mistakes, or we're in the future, fretting about things that haven't happened yet. But when we practice mindfulness, we anchor ourselves in the present moment. We anchor ourselves in reality. Think of it as a quiet rebellion against the constant chatter of our minds. It's about choosing where we place our attention. Instead of letting our minds run rampant with thoughts, We decide to focus on the here and now. And how do we do this? By paying attention to our senses. What do we see? What do we hear? What do we smell, taste, feel? It's about fully experiencing the world around us. It's about noticing the small details that we often overlook in our rush to worry about the past and the future. But it's not just about quieting the mind, it's also about being kind to ourselves. It's about understanding that it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay not to know. It's okay to be uncertain. By embracing these truths, we let go of the need to control everything. And that's when we start to break the cycle of overthinking. As we cultivate mindfulness, we start to regain control over our thoughts. We stop being passengers on a runaway train of thoughts and become the drivers of our own minds. We start to decide where we want to go, what we want to think about. We start to break free from the chains of overthinking. As we cultivate mindfulness, we start to regain control over our thoughts. But mindfulness alone isn't enough. We also need to foster positivity. That's right, my friends. Positivity isn't just a feel-good mantra, it's a power, a force that can shift the trajectory of our thoughts and consequently, our lives. Imagine positivity as a blanket of warmth that wraps around your mind, soothing the creases of worry and doubt. It's the light that pierces the gloom of negativity, revealing the beauty of the world around us. Sounds magical, doesn't it? But here's the deal. It's not just magic, it's science. Studies have shown that positive thinking can reduce stress, boost immunity, and even increase life expectancy. So how do we cultivate this positivity? Well, let's start with gratitude. Gratitude is like a seed that, when planted in our minds, sprouts into a tree of positivity. It's about acknowledging the good in our lives, no matter how small. Every morning, take a moment to think about 3 things you're grateful for. They could be as simple as a hot cup of coffee or a smile from a stranger. By focusing on the positive, we slowly train our minds to see the glass as half full, not half empty. Next, we have affirmations. Affirmations are powerful declarations of intent. They are the anchors that keep us grounded in positivity. Start your day by declaring something positive about yourself. It could be something like, I am capable, or I am worthy. Repeat it throughout the day. Let it seep into your subconscious until it becomes a part of who you are. Lastly, surround yourself with positive influences. Positivity, much like negativity, is contagious. The people we spend time with can significantly influence our mental state. Seek out those who lift you up, who inspire you, who make you want to be a better version of yourself. With positivity on our side, we can start to shift our perspective. And that, my friends, is the true power of positive thinking. It's not about ignoring the negative, but about choosing to focus on the good. It's about embracing the possibility of a brighter, happier future. So let's harness this power and let it guide us on our journey to master the art of thinking. Yet we often find ourselves falling back into negative thinking. How do we break free? Negative thoughts, like unwelcome guests, often barge into our minds uninvited. They can be relentless, whispering tales of doom and gloom, painting pictures of failure and disappointment. But remember, we hold the power to show these intrusive thoughts the door. One powerful tool in our armory is cognitive restructuring. It's a fancy term, but it's actually a simple concept. It's about catching those negative thoughts, examining them, and then turning them around. It's about challenging the validity of those pessimistic narratives and finding a more balanced perspective. Let's take an example. Suppose you have a thought like, I always mess up presentations. Instead of letting this thought run wild, you stop and challenge it. You ask, do I really always mess up? Or have there been times when I've done well? You may remember that one time when your boss complimented you on a job well done. Suddenly, your always becomes a sometimes, and that's a significant shift. Challenging negative thoughts requires practice, but it's worth the effort. Each time you do it, you weaken the hold of negativity and strengthen your ability to think positively. Another strategy is to focus on solutions rather than problems. It's easy to get stuck in a loop of what's going wrong. But when we shift our focus to what we can do to make things right, we empower ourselves. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by the problem, we feel energized by the potential solution. I want to leave you with this thought. Each time we challenge a negative thought, each time we focus on a solution, we're taking a sledgehammer to the walls of negativity that confine us. We're carving a path towards a brighter, more positive mindset. And as we break free from negative thinking, we start to see the world in a new light. We notice opportunities instead of obstacles, potential instead of pitfalls. We realize that we are not victims of our thoughts, but masters of them. Breaking free from negative thinking allows us to see the world in a new light. Ultimately, our goal is to master the art of thinking. This is not about suppressing thoughts or emotions. Rather, it's about learning to navigate the vast seas of our minds, steering our thoughts toward positivity and productivity. Just as a seasoned sailor masters the art of sailing, we too can become captains of our cognitive ships. But how do we do this? How do we master the art of thinking? Well, it starts with awareness. By becoming aware of our thoughts, we can start to distinguish between the whirlwinds of overthinking and the gentle breezes of constructive contemplation. Next, we need to cultivate mindfulness. This is the practice of being present, of living in the here and now rather than being lost in the maze of past regrets or future anxieties. By focusing on the present moment, we can experience life as it unfolds, free from the burdens of overthinking. We also need to practice acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean resignation or complacency. It means acknowledging our thoughts and feelings without judgment or resistance. It's about saying, these are my thoughts and feelings, and that's okay. Finally, we must learn to direct our thoughts. Just as a captain steers his ship, we can steer our minds. It's not about controlling every thought, but about guiding our overall mental direction. This involves replacing negative thought patterns with positive ones and swapping aimless overthinking with purposeful contemplation. So let's remember to be aware, to be mindful, to accept, and to direct. These are the 4 pillars of mastering the art of thinking. Each pillar is a tool we can use to navigate the seas of our minds, to avoid the storms of overthinking, and sail towards the shores of positivity and productivity. And remember, this is a journey. It's not about perfection, but progress. It's about learning, growing, and becoming better versions of ourselves. Because when we master the art of thinking, we don't just improve our minds, we improve our lives. When we master our minds, we elevate our edge. So let's take a moment to recap what we've learned today. We commenced our journey with an exploration of the battle within, the silent war that each of us wages in the landscape of our minds. We acknowledged overthinking as a formidable adversary that can cloud our judgment, restrict our creativity, and diminish our self-confidence. Understanding overthinking was our next step. We unraveled its intricacies, acknowledging that it's not just an excess of thoughts, but an excess of negative thoughts that pulls us into a vortex of doubt and worry. We learned that overthinking is like a loop, a never-ending cycle that feeds on itself. And the first step to breaking free is to recognize its presence. Then we moved on to breaking the cycle. We discussed the power of mindfulness, of living in the present moment. We learned that by focusing on the here and now, we can disrupt the loop of overthinking. We also discovered the importance of adopting a problem-solving mindset, focusing on solutions rather than dwelling on problems. Next, we delved into the importance of staying positive. We discussed how positive self-talk can be a powerful tool in our arsenal against overthinking. We learned that by replacing negative thoughts with positive affirmations, we can shift our mindset and approach challenges with optimism and resilience. We then tackled the task of breaking negative thinking. This is where we learned to challenge our negative thoughts, to question them, and to replace them with more rational, balanced thoughts. We discovered that when we actively engage in this process, we can shift our perspective and start to see the world and ourselves in a more positive light. Finally, we explored the art of mastering our thinking. We learned that our minds are like muscles. They can be trained and strengthened. We discussed various techniques, such as meditation and cognitive restructuring, that can help us gain control over our thoughts. We acknowledge that this is not a one-time process, but a continuous journey of self-improvement and growth. All these steps, understanding overthinking, breaking the cycle, staying positive, breaking negative thinking, and mastering the art of thinking, are anchors that can pull us out of the depths of overthinking. They are tools that can help us navigate the tumultuous seas of our minds, steering us towards calmer, more productive waters. Remember, the battle is within, but so is the power to overcome. Here's to mastering our minds and elevating our edge.